We're headed out into the Atlantic towards international waters, right in the middle of the ocean where trawlers come to ply their trade. The fish they're bringing up to the surface were caught hundreds of meters below. These, for instance, are rat tails. These fisheries first emerged some 20 years ago, at a time when technological advances were making it possible for fishermen to exploit new areas located at great depths, a development which helped make up for the decline of stocks in a number of traditional fisheries.
Fishery started in the mid-90s for the Scottish Fleet. We looked at it as a way of moving away from traditional species where there was strict quota restrictions to going to fish deep sea where we had no quota restrictions.
However, this type of high-sea fishery presents one particular problem: the impact of the gear where it comes into contact with the seabed. At the bottom of the sea, there's still life, even here at depths of between 400 and 2,000 meters. Even in cold waters, and where there's no light, we can still find marine ecosystems of remarkable biodiversity. Ecosystems such as corals, which play host to many unique species found nowhere else. Corals live not only in warm tropical waters, but also in cold waters, at great depths where they can form coral reefs. Over 800 species of fish and invertebrates can be found there. Many live in really difficult conditions, extreme conditions. Reproduction is slow and growth is slow, which makes them particularly vulnerable. Deep water coral reefs provide a supportive habitat for such fragile species to reproduce and grow, especially when they're attached to seamounts, these oases of the ocean floor.
When you trawl over a coral ecosystem, it largely destroys the structure of that coral ecosystem. It's a highly destructive method of fishing. It causes a tremendous amount of collateral damage. You lose the habitats that these species in the deep ocean areas need to survive, and there's a very real risk of species extinction.
In addition to purely environmental considerations, there are other concerns.
We didn't want to go in the corals because it's very, very damaging for our trawls. And the other reason, of course, is that there's a lot of juvenile fish in these corals. So we want the juvenile fish to grow to be big fish so we can harvest them later.
Fishermen use heavy plates to keep the trawl on the ocean floor. The damage these plates can do is tremendous. According to scientific studies, a single vessel can damage up to 33 square kilometers of seabed in a 2-week fishing trip. This is what it looks like after the trawl's passage, and this is what it may have looked like before. This is an international problem. The European Union has already taken measures in its own waters.
We have taken measures to ban bottom trawling. Bottom set gears, and this means that we have done so, for example, to the west of Scotland, where we have identified sensitive marine habitats. We have done so also around the islands of the Azores, Madeira and the Canaries.
But international regulation was also needed. In December 2006, the United Nations adopted a resolution on sustainable fisheries to protect fragile marine habitats. During the debate, the European Union worked to get a more ecosystem-based approach to managing these fisheries adopted. It also encouraged the regional fisheries organizations, which are responsible for high seas fisheries, to take this approach fully on board.
The vulnerable marine ecosystems is one of the highest priorities in international affairs with regard to fishing. And therefore we, as a community, would like to see to it that the relevant regional fisheries management organizations have the clout, the power to take action themselves in order to see to it that destructive fishing practices are eliminated.
In those areas such as the Southwest Atlantic, where there are no regional fisheries organizations to regulate high seas fisheries, it's up to each state to take action. Fishermen will therefore have to submit a fishing plan before being allowed to sail. Then it's up to the authorities to make sure that the proposed activities will not affect any vulnerable areas. If they do, the fishermen will have to modify their plans. The European Commission's position is quite balanced, since it allows for protection of fragile ecosystems where these need protecting, but also for ongoing economic activity for our fishermen, which is fundamental for their survival. Europe is also working to improve our knowledge of these fragile ecosystems through major research projects such as Hermes or Oasis. It has also undertaken to support the work being done by the FAO, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization to collect precise data on deep-sea fisheries and develop technical standards so that these fisheries can be conducted responsibly.